Behind every legend, there are nuggets of truth. Every monster, every ghost, every mystery has a backstory. In the town of Bennington, Vermont, there's a mountain where they say an 8-foot-tall hairy monster lurks. There's also the tale of a man-eating rock somewhere on the hill. They say on this mountain, sometimes people mysteriously disappear. I'm on the search for the ruins of the ghost town, Fayville, Vermont. Finding these old cellar holes and rocks in this dense forest isn't easy. To make some sense of what's fact and what's fiction, I headed to the Bennington Museum to meet with Tyler Resch. He's the author of the book Glastenbury, The History of a Vermont Ghost Town. He's also the former editor of the Bennington Banner, and he's now a research librarian at the museum. What would life have been like in Glastenbury?
In the early days, in the 18th century, 19th century, it would have been really rugged. The whole economy was based on trees, and you would have had to cut trees for heat and to cook with. The first village was Fayville, in the northwest corner of the town. That's where there was the first settlement. There was a school there were little houses, and eventually there was a big sawmill there. Then later in the 1870s, a logging railroad was built from Bennington up to South Glastenbury. Once the trees were all cut off, somebody had the bright idea of turning the logging railroad into a trolley for tourists. So after that one summer of a summer resort up in South Glastenbury, the trees had all been cut off, so there was erosion. There was a big flood in November of that year, and it wiped out the railroad line and all the bridges. So there had never been a road on the ground up there.
So all that time and expense gone in one season.
Right.
And what year was that?
That was 1898.
Okay, so we're almost to the turn of the century.
Yeah.
And there's nothing left.
Well, it just rotted back into the woods.
And no one tried to make it go up there again?
No.
Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people mysteriously vanished in the Bennington area. November 12, 1945, 74-year-old mountain guide and hunter Mitty Rivers treks ahead of the group he was leading in the vicinity of Long Trail Road and Route 9 and is never seen again.
The woods were searched thoroughly, and no sign was ever found of him. I mean, the presumption was that he was somebody shot him, thought he was a deer, during hunting season, and somehow the body was well concealed.
Rivers was an experienced hunter and outdoorsman and familiar with the local area. December 1st, 1946, an 18-year-old girl named Paula Weldon, who was a sophomore at Bennington College, set out for a hike on Long Trail toward Glastenbury Mountain.
The Long Trail is the footpath in the wilderness that goes from Massachusetts to Canada.
She was wearing a red sweater and was last seen by an elderly couple hiking the trail.
The woods were thoroughly searched repeatedly.
After Paula Weldon disappeared, a massive manhunt was organized, including large cash rewards for information leading to her whereabouts. This manhunt was the impetus to form the Vermont State Police.
There was some concern about the quality of the search, and it did lead directly to the formation of the Vermont State Police, because before that everything had been in the hands of the sheriff departments.
Some speculate that Weldon ran off with a boyfriend and started a new life. To this day, people believe it's bad luck to wear red and hike Glastenbury Mountain. 3 years later to the day, on December 1st, 1949, James Tedford, a resident of the Bennington Soldiers' Home, was returning from a trip to St. Albans, where he mysteriously vanished with his belongings still on the luggage rack of the bus. Skeptics are quick to point out that no one ever claimed he was anywhere near Glastenbury Mountain. That's true, but legends have a way of expanding beyond traditional borders. October 12, 1950, 8-year-old Paul Jepson was accompanying his mother when she was feeding some pigs at a local farm. He was told to wait in the pickup truck, but Paul didn't. He wandered off.
The legend is that he was probably consumed by the pigs.
Bloodhounds tracked the boy for a few miles, but it was a cold and rainy night. Chances of surviving without shelter were slim. He was never seen again. 16 days after Jepson disappeared, 53-year-old Frida Langer also vanished. She and her family were camping near the Somerset Reservoir when she disappeared. The difference between Frida Langer's case is that her remains were discovered by hunters the following spring. These disappearances, these unusual circumstances happen in and around this mountain, and the legend grows.
Yeah, you know what I think? I mean, if you get out in this territory, this is a huge territory. I think the surprising thing is that more people haven't disappeared, really. It could be really terrifying to be out there and get lost and not know where you are.
Sure, stories of Bigfoot may sound ridiculous, and it's possible that a place with so many other legends gain a few more just by inertia. But then I find this New York Times article from October 18, 1879, talking about a wild man sighting in Pownall, Vermont, just south of here. That sighting predates the disappearances by decades.
The supervisor of Glastenbury today, his name is Ricky Harrington, sort of picked up on that, and he has a picture of Bigfoot on the town tax bills.
There are always many layers to a legend. When I walk into the ruins of Fayville, I'm reminded that hardy New Englanders once forged a living here. They used the trees, they used the land, and they built a life in a place that wasn't good for much else. The cellar holes are like headstones on the grave of this ghost village. A building once stood here. People had hopes and dreams. Then they moved on. Nature is always quick to reclaim what is rightfully hers. Stories of monsters lurking through the forest are dotted all over the New England landscape. We shouldn't be surprised to find them in a place where we know people have vanished. When manhunts turn up nothing, we often turn to folklore. Still, these legends are so powerful that when you take a hike in these woods today, your rational mind can occasionally take its leave. Man-eating rocks, giant hairy monsters, and we know for a fact not everyone who hiked in also hiked out. The legend of Glastenbury Mountain is alive and well in Bennington, Vermont.